Title: The Shop on Ferry Street. In the heart of Newark, New Jersey, on a busy block not far from Ferry Street, there was a barber shop that everybody knew about. It wasn't just a place to get a haircut. It was a place where stories were told, friendships were built, and life slowed down for a moment. The sign outside read, La Esquina Barber Shop. Inside, the shop looked like a mix of three worlds. On the left side were 4 barber chairs with shiny mirrors and Dominican flags hanging above them. In the back corner stood a pool table, always surrounded by people arguing about who scratched the last shot. And on the right side was a small tattoo station, where the buzzing of the tattoo machine mixed with the music playing through the speakers. The place was owned by Don Rafa, a Dominican barber who had come to New Jersey 20 years earlier with nothing but a pair of clippers and a dream. Don Rafa believed something simple. A barber shop is not just for hair, it's for people. Every day the shop opened at 9 a.m., but by 8:30, there were already people outside waiting. Inside, the energy was always the same. The music was loud, bachata, dembo, hip-hop, sometimes even old salsa. The smell of hairspray mixed with the scent of cigars and aftershave. Laughter bounced off the walls. One barber, Luis, was famous for perfect fades. Another, Carlitos, talked so much that sometimes a haircut took an hour because he was busy telling stories. Near the pool table stood Miguel, the tattoo artist. His arms were covered in tattoos, and he had a reputation for turning simple ideas into incredible art. But the real magic of the shop was the people who came through the door. On any given afternoon, you could see Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, African Americans, Mexicans, Colombians, Italians, and even a few white guys from the suburbs who drove all the way to Newark just to experience the vibe. Nobody cared where you were from. Inside that shop, everyone was family. A typical Saturday looked like a party. Someone would walk in and yell, "¿Quién está jugando pool?" Who's next? 2 guys would start a game and suddenly 10 people were watching like it was the championship of the world. Someone would open the fridge. "Who wants a beer?" Before long, bottles of Corona, Presidente, and sometimes Jack Daniels were sitting on the counter. People laughed, joked, and debated about everything. Basketball, boxing, life, relationships. In one chair, a young kid was getting his first fade before going to a party. In another chair, an old Dominican man sat telling stories about the island. Near the tattoo station, a guy from Brooklyn was getting a tattoo of his mother's name while explaining why he drove an hour just to come there. And in the corner, someone always said the same thing. "Bro, this is not a barber shop. This is a clubhouse." But the shop was more than fun. It was also where people talked about real life. Sometimes a man would walk in looking stressed from work. By the time he left, with a clean haircut, after 2 games of pool and a few laughs, his whole mood would change. Don Rafa watched all of this from behind his chair. One day a young guy asked him, "Rafa, how did you build a place like this?" Don Rafa smiled and said something simple. "People come here for a haircut, but they stay because they feel welcome." Years passed, and the shop became famous in Newark. People called it the Dominican United Nations. Why? Because inside those walls, every culture mixed together. A Puerto Rican could play pool with a Dominican. An African American could get a tattoo from a Colombian artist. A white guy from Jersey could sit down and drink a beer while listening to bachata for the first time. And nobody judged anyone. It was just people being people. Late at night, when the last haircut was done and the music slowed down, Don Rafa would look around the shop. Hair on the floor, pool balls scattered on the table, empty beer bottles on the counter, and a room full of laughter that had just happened. He would turn off the lights and say quietly, "Another good day." Because in Newark, New Jersey, La Esquina Barbershop wasn't just a business.